Enoch did not die. The scriptures reveal that he was not found because Elohim took him away. It was said that he walked with the One, Elohim, and then he was no longer among men. The heavens opened, and Enoch passed beyond them. What was revealed to him was so destabilizing that it would shock the world. And then they banned his book from the Bible. Its content may be so disturbing that the powers inside the church feared it, and yet today it is absent from most Bibles. And yet today, many priests and pastors fear believers knowing its content. What Enoch witnessed has been found in some Ethiopian scriptures, preserved where other traditions chose silence, not because it was unknown, but because it was uncomfortable. Because it speaks too clearly about heavenly rebellion, divine judgment, and the fate of kings and powers. It places God, angels, and cosmic law where they belong, and exposes what happens when that order is violated. This book was not written lightly. It does not flatter humanity. It does not soften judgment. It does not place men at the center of creation. Unfortunately, in the Book of Enoch, you will notice something else. You will not find the original Hebrew divine names, not Elohim, not Yahweh, not El Shaddai or El Elyon. Instead, you will encounter titles like the Lord of Spirits, the Most High, the Holy Great One, and the Head of Days. And this is not accidental. The versions that survive passed through translation, preservation, and theological control. Names that once carried power, specificity, and ancient resonance were rendered into titles, softened for transmission, stripped of linguistic force. This is why modern translations speak of God, where the ancient texts spoke of Elohim, a plural complex term that does not fit neatly into later doctrine. A plural that we know refers directly to the Anunnaki. According to the ancient record, Elohim took Enoch. They showed him the machinery of heaven. They showed him the judgment written before time. They showed him what awaits the rulers of the earth. They showed him what becomes of angels who rebel. They showed him who will stand at the end, enthroned, judging, vindicating the righteous. And then they sent him back, only to deliver the message.
I invite you to stay until the end of the video, where I will return for a symbolic analysis of the Book of Enoch.
Enoch lifted his voice, not for those who stood near him, but for a generation far removed, one that would walk upon the earth in days of trial and unraveling. These were the words of his blessing, spoken over the elect and the righteous, who would yet live when the wicked and the godless were being swept away. His speech did not rise from imagination, nor from human wisdom, but from sight granted beyond the veil. For Enoch was a righteous man, and his eyes had been opened by God. He spoke in the form of a parable, declaring what had been shown to him in the heavens. The angels had revealed these things, and from them he had heard and understood all that he saw. Yet the vision was not for his own generation, nor for the days in which he walked among men, but for a distant people yet to come, whose hour had not arrived. Concerning the elect, he spoke and said, "The Holy Great One will come forth from his dwelling." The words carried weight, as though the heavens themselves leaned forward to listen. The eternal God would descend and tread upon the earth, even upon Mount Sinai, and he would appear in the strength of his might from the heaven of heavens, unveiling a power no flesh could withstand. Fear would fall upon all who beheld him. The watchers themselves would quake, and trembling would seize them to the ends of the earth. The high mountains would be shaken, and the lofty hills brought low. They would melt like wax before a flame, unable to endure the nearness of his presence. The very foundations of the world would respond to his coming. The earth would be torn apart, and all that dwelt upon it would be judged. Nothing hidden would remain concealed, and no work would stand apart from reckoning. Judgment would pass over all, measuring deeds, words, and ways as the order of creation was called to account. Yet Enoch did not speak only of fear. With the righteous, God would make peace. He would protect the elect, and mercy would rest upon them. They would belong to him, prospered and blessed, helped in their weakness. Light would appear to them, and peace would be made with them, not as a fleeting gift, but as an enduring covering. And Enoch declared what he had seen. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, to destroy the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of every work of ungodliness they have committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Thus, the blessing and the warning were spoken together, as one vision, awaiting the generation for whom they were revealed. Enoch turned his gaze upward and called attention to the heavens, to all that moves above the earth without confusion or rebellion. He spoke of the lights set in the sky, how they do not stray from their paths, how each luminary rises and sets according to its appointed time. None hastens ahead, none lingers behind. Each keeps its course, obedient to the order given from the beginning, never transgressing the boundaries assigned to it. Then he directed the eye downward, to the earth itself, and to all that unfolds upon it from first to last. The ground remains steadfast beneath the passing of years. The works upon it do not collapse into disorder, nor do they abandon their purpose. All that is seen bears witness to the works of God. Summer and winter arrive in their turn. The earth is filled with water, and clouds gather above it. Dew descends in the quiet hours, and rain falls in its season, covering the land as it has been commanded to do. He spoke of the winter days, when trees stand as though stripped and lifeless, their branches bare and silent. Yet even then, not all are undone. Some retain their foliage, holding the old leaves through 2 or 3 years until the new growth comes forth. Nothing is forgotten, nothing is wasted, and nothing fails to answer its appointed time. Again, he spoke of the days of summer, when the sun stands high above the earth, pressing its heat upon the land. Men seek shade and shelter, unable to endure the burning of its rays. The ground itself grows hot beneath the feet, and rock and soil alike reflect the fire of the sun. Yet even this follows its measure, and the heat does not exceed what has been set for it. Enoch pointed to the trees as they clothe themselves with green leaves and bear fruit in their season. Their branches stretch outward, heavy with life, fulfilling what they were created to do. From this, he urged understanding. All the works of God are ordered, and he who lives forever has fashioned them to stand and endure in this way. Year follows year, and his works continue without interruption. The tasks assigned to them do not change, and they do not grow weary. According to what God has ordained, so it is done. The pattern does not unravel, and the design does not fail. Each part answers to the command it was given at the foundation of the world. He spoke also of the seas and the rivers, how they move within their bounds. They accomplish their work and do not transgress their limits. From their sources to their ends, they obey the commandments spoken over them. They do not rise beyond what they are permitted, nor do they withhold what they are appointed to give. But then Enoch turned his words toward the sons of men. He spoke plainly, without softening his voice. They had not been steadfast. They had not kept the commandments of the Lord. Instead, they had turned away, speaking proud and hard words with impure mouths against his greatness. Their hearts had grown resistant, and their speech had become defiant. He called them hard-hearted, declaring that they would find no peace. Their days would be cursed, and the years of their life would pass away without blessing. The years of their destruction would be multiplied, and their end would stand as an eternal abomination. Mercy would not find them where repentance had been refused. In those days, their names would become a curse among the righteous. By them, all who curse would learn how to curse. Sinners and the godless would invoke their memory as a warning, and for the godless themselves, the curse would not depart. Yet Enoch did not leave his words there. He spoke again of the righteous, and his voice carried a different weight. They would rejoice, and forgiveness of sins would be granted to them. Mercy would surround them, along with peace and forbearance. Salvation would be theirs, and a goodly light would rise upon them, not dimmed by fear or shadow. For the sinners there would be no salvation, and the curse would remain upon them. But for the elect there would be light, and joy, and peace. They would inherit the earth, not by force, but by the order established from the beginning. Wisdom would be given to the elect, and they would live without returning to sin through pride or ungodliness. Those who were wise would walk in humility. They would not transgress again, nor would they sin throughout the days appointed to them. Their lives would not be cut short by anger or wrath, but they would complete the full number of their days. Their years would increase in peace, and the span of their joy would be multiplied. Gladness and peace would accompany them through all the days of their life, as creation itself continued in obedience, bearing silent witness to the order set by the living God. When the children of men multiplied upon the earth, a change came quietly, almost unnoticed at first. Daughters were born to them, beautiful in form, pleasing to the eye, and their presence altered the balance that had long stood between heaven and earth. What had been observed from afar was now desired, and what had been appointed to remain separate was drawn into unlawful nearness. The watchers, the angels who were the children of heaven, looked down and saw the daughters of men. Their gaze did not remain pure. Desire took root among them, and they spoke to one another in secret council, saying, "Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget children." What began as a shared thought hardened into intent, and intent pressed toward action. Semjaza, who stood as their leader, heard their words and was troubled. He spoke to them with caution, saying, "I fear that you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and that I alone shall bear the penalty of a great sin." His concern was not born of righteousness, but of consequence, for he knew the weight of what they proposed. But the others answered him with one voice, resolving the matter among themselves. They said, "Let us all swear an oath, and bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, so that none of us will abandon this plan, but that all will carry it out." In this way they ensured that no one would turn back, and no one would stand alone in guilt. They swore together, binding themselves by curses spoken against their own names, should they fail. There were 200 in all, and they descended in the days of Jared upon the summit of Mount Hermon. They called the mountain by that name, because there they had sworn and bound themselves by their oaths, sealing their rebellion not in secrecy, but upon a height visible to the earth below. The leaders among them were many, each set over groups of 10. Among them were Samlazaz their chief, Arakalba, Ramil, Kokablel, Tamlel, Ramlel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakijal, Asael, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zaklel, Samsapil, Satarel, Terel, Jumjael, and Sariel. These stood as heads among the watchers, guiding the descent and directing what followed. Together with those under their authority, they took wives from among the daughters of men. Each chose according to his desire, and they went in unto them, defiling themselves and the order that had been set from the beginning. Boundaries that had been fixed were crossed, and what had been distinct was mingled without restraint. They did not stop at transgression of flesh alone. The watchers began to teach what had not been given to mankind. They revealed charms and enchantments, the cutting of roots, and the hidden uses of plants. Knowledge meant to remain veiled was placed into unprepared hands, and what was taught did not bring life, but confusion. The women conceived and bore giants, vast in stature and terrible in appetite. Their height was great beyond measure, and they consumed all that men had gathered. Fields were stripped bare, storehouses emptied, and labor yielded nothing lasting. When men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against those who had fed them. They devoured mankind. They did not restrain themselves from blood, but rose against men, and then against birds and beasts, reptiles and fish. They consumed flesh without distinction and drank blood, tearing apart what had been created to live within order. Even among themselves they turned, devouring one another as violence multiplied without boundary. Then the earth itself laid accusation against the lawless ones. The ground that had received blood cried out, and the weight of corruption pressed upward, seeking judgment. What had been entrusted to humanity for care had become a witness against them. Azazel taught men to fashion weapons of war, swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He revealed the metals hidden in the earth and the art of working them, shaping instruments not for cultivation, but for destruction. He taught the making of bracelets and ornaments, the use of antimony, the beautifying of the eyelids, and the adornment with costly stones and colors. What had been given for sustenance was turned into vanity and power. Godlessness increased across the earth. Men committed fornication, were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Knowledge multiplied, but wisdom did not accompany it. Each teaching widened the distance between what was created and what was now practiced. Semjaza taught enchantments and the cutting of roots. Armaros taught how to undo enchantments. Barakijal taught astrology and Kokabel the constellations. Ezekiel taught the knowledge of the clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. The heavens were measured and named, but not honored. As these things spread, men perished under the weight of what they had been given and could not bear. Their strength failed, their numbers diminished, and their cries rose from the earth. The sound of their suffering ascended beyond the sky, carrying accusation and sorrow, until their cry reached heaven itself. Enoch was taken by the angels and carried to a place where those who stood there appeared as flaming fire. At their will they took the likeness of men, yet their nature was not hidden, for light and power moved within them. They led him onward, away from the dwelling of men, and brought him toward a region of darkness, to a mountain whose summit rose until it touched the heavens themselves. There he was shown the places appointed for the luminaries and the treasuries of the stars. He saw the storehouses of thunder, and in the uttermost depths the instruments of power prepared from the beginning, a fiery bow with its arrows, a quiver of flame, a fiery sword, and the lightnings set apart for their time. Nothing was without order, and nothing was without purpose. The angels brought him to the living waters and to the fire of the west, which receives the setting of the sun each day. He came to a river of fire, where flame flowed like water and poured itself into the great sea toward the west. He saw the great rivers of the earth, and beyond them the great darkness, a place where no flesh walks and no mortal path is found. He beheld the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place from which all the waters of the deep flow forth. He saw the mouths of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the abyss itself. He was shown the treasuries of all the winds, and how the whole creation had been furnished by them, resting upon the firm foundations of the earth. He saw the cornerstone of the earth, and the four winds that bear the firmament of heaven. He saw how the winds stretch out the vaults above, standing between heaven and earth as the pillars that uphold the sky. He saw the winds of heaven that guide the course of the sun and all the stars to their setting, and the winds upon the earth that carry the clouds across the face of the world. He saw the paths of the angels, and at the end of the earth he saw the firmament of heaven above. Moving onward, he came to a place that burns day and night, where 7 mountains of magnificent stone rose in silence. 3 stood toward the east, and 3 toward the south. Those to the east were of colored stone, one of pearl, one of jacinth, while those to the south were of red stone. The mountain in the center rose higher than the others, reaching toward heaven like a throne. It appeared as alabaster, and its summit was like sapphire. Before it burned a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains lay a region at the far end of the earth, where the heavens were brought to completion. There Enoch saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire. Among them were columns of flame falling without measure, descending as far as they rose. Beyond this abyss, he saw a place without firmament above and without earth beneath. No water, no birds, only a desolate and dreadful waste. In that place he saw 7 stars, like great burning mountains. When he asked concerning them, the angel spoke and said that this was the end of heaven and earth, a prison for the stars and for the host of heaven. These were the ones who had transgressed the commandment of the Lord at the beginning of their rising, failing to come forth at their appointed times. They were bound there in wrath, held until the day when their guilt would be completed, even for 10,000 years. And Uriel said to him that there the angels who had joined themselves to women would stand, whose spirits, taking many forms, had defiled mankind and led them astray. There they would remain until the day of the great judgment, when their end would be made complete, and the women who had gone astray with them would become sirens. These things Enoch saw alone, the ends of all things set before his eyes. No man walked where he walked, and no other was shown what he was shown, as the weight of heaven's judgment stood revealed before him. As Enoch continued in the vision set before him, he was shown the order of the holy angels who watch over mankind, those who had remained faithful to the command entrusted to them. Their names were revealed to him, not as titles of honor alone, but as markers of appointed authority within creation. Uriel stood over the world and over Tartarus. Raphael was set over the spirits of men. Raguel was appointed to take vengeance upon the world of the luminaries. Michael was placed over the best portion of mankind and over chaos itself. Saracael was set over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Gabriel was appointed over paradise, the serpents, and the cherubim. Remiel was set over those who rise. From there, Enoch was led into a region where order had collapsed. He came to a place chaotic and dreadful, where there was neither a firm heaven above nor a founded earth beneath. It was a place broken and unstable. And there he saw 7 stars of heaven bound together, appearing like great mountains, burning with fire, and held fast in judgment. Seeing this, Enoch asked, "For what sin are they bound, and on what account have they been cast into this place?" Uriel, who was with him and held authority among the holy angels, answered his question. He said that these were among the stars of heaven, who had transgressed the commandment of the Lord at the beginning, failing to keep the order appointed to them. For this reason, they were bound there until 10,000 years were fulfilled, the full measure of their sin being brought to completion. From that place, Enoch was taken to another, still more terrible. A great fire burned there without rest, and the land was split open down to the abyss. Columns of fire descended endlessly, and neither their height nor their depth could be measured. The sight filled him with dread, and he said, "How fearful is this place, and how terrible to look upon! Uriel answered him, asking why fear had seized him so strongly. Enoch replied that it was because of the terror of the place and the pain set before him. Then the angel said, "This place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be imprisoned forever." Thus, Enoch was shown the consequence appointed to those who had broken the boundary set between heaven and earth. He was then brought to another place, to a mountain of hard rock. Within it were 4 hollow places, deep and wide, smooth and dark, cut into the stone as though prepared long before. Their depth was great, and their darkness heavy to behold. Raphael, who was with him, explained that these hollow places had been created so that the spirits of the souls of the dead might gather there. All the souls of the children of men would assemble in these chambers, held until the day of their judgment, and until the appointed time of the great judgment came upon them. There Enoch saw the spirit of a dead man making suit, his voice rising upward to heaven without ceasing. He asked Raphael whose spirit it was, whose voice cried out in accusation. Raphael answered that it was the spirit which had gone forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain had slain. His spirit made its suit until Cain's seed should be destroyed from the face of the earth and removed from among the sons of men. As Enoch looked upon these separated places, he asked why one hollow was set apart from another. The vision pressed upon him the truth that transgression does not end in the act alone, but unfolds into consequence, division, and judgment, as heaven bears witness against those who crossed the order appointed to them. Enoch was shown how the divisions had been appointed for the spirits of the dead, each separated according to what had been done in life. 3 divisions had been made. One for the righteous, where a bright spring of water shone in peace. Another for sinners who had died without judgment executed in their lifetime, their spirits set apart in pain until the great day of judgment. And another for those who had made their suit, whose blood had been shed in the days of the sinners, crying out for reckoning. There was also a place for those who had lived in complete transgression, whose spirits would remain bound, neither slain in judgment nor raised from that place. Seeing these things, Enoch blessed the Lord of glory, the Lord of righteousness, who rules forever. From there he was taken westward, to the ends of the earth, where he saw a fire that burned without rest. It did not pause by day or by night, but followed its course unceasingly. When Enoch asked what this fire was, Raguel, one of the holy angels, answered that it was the fire of the west, which pursues the luminaries of heaven, driving them toward their setting according to the order appointed to them. He was then brought to another place upon the earth, where a mountain range burned day and night. Passing beyond it, he saw 7 magnificent mountains, each unlike the others. Their stones were splendid and beautiful, 3 standing toward the east and 3 toward the south, each rising upon the other, with deep and rough ravines between them that did not join together. In the midst of them stood a 7th mountain, higher than all the rest, shaped like the seat of a throne. Fragrant trees surrounded it, and among them stood a tree whose scent Enoch had never known. Its fragrance surpassed all others. Its leaves, blooms, and wood did not wither. And its fruit was beautiful, like the dates of a palm. Enoch marveled at it and spoke of its beauty and delight. Michael, one of the holy and honored angels, answered him. He explained that the high mountain whose summit resembled a throne was the place where the Holy Great One, the Lord of Glory and Eternal King, would sit when he came down to visit the earth with goodness. As for the fragrant tree, no mortal was permitted to touch it until the great judgment, when vengeance would be completed. Then it would be given to the righteous and the holy, its fruit appointed as food for the elect, transplanted to the holy place of the eternal King. In those days, the righteous would rejoice and enter the holy place. The fragrance of that tree would pass into their bones, and they would live long upon the earth as their fathers had lived. Sorrow, plague, torment, and calamity would not touch them in their days. And Enoch blessed the God of glory, who had prepared these things for the righteous and promised them from the beginning. From there he was taken to the middle of the earth, to a blessed land filled with trees in bloom. Beneath a holy mountain to the east flowed a stream toward the south. Another mountain rose higher to the east, with a deep and narrow ravine between them, where a stream ran beneath the mountain. To the west stood a lower mountain, with deep and dry ravines separating all three, cut from hard rock and barren of trees. Enoch marveled at the rocks and the ravines, wondering at their purpose. Uriel answered him, saying that the accursed valley was prepared for those who were accursed forever, those who spoke hard and unseemly words against the Lord and against his glory. There they would be gathered for judgment, and in the last days righteous judgment would be displayed before the righteous forever. In that place, the merciful would bless the Lord of glory, acknowledging the mercy by which their portion had been assigned. Enoch continued his journey, and his voice rose again in blessing as he praised the Lord of glory and set forth his greatness. From there he was led toward the east, into the heart of a desert mountain range. What appeared desolate from afar revealed a hidden richness, a solitary wilderness filled with trees and plants. Water burst forth from above, rushing like a great stream toward the northwest, and as it flowed, clouds gathered and dew rose on every side, covering the land in quiet abundance. He was taken onward to another place in the desert, east of that mountain range. There he saw aromatic trees, their branches breathing out the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh. Among them stood trees like almond trees, firm and full, rooted in the dry land, yet yielding scent and life. Beyond these, he went farther east and came upon a valley of waters. In it grew a tree whose color matched the fragrant trees, like mastic. And along the slopes of the valley, cinnamon grew, spreading its scent upon the air. Pressing onward to the east, Enoch saw other mountains, and among them groves of trees from which nectar flowed, substances known as sorara and galbanum. Beyond those mountains rose another, standing at the far ends of the earth. Upon it grew aloe trees, heavy with stacte, their appearance like almond trees. When their wood was burned, its fragrance surpassed all others, filling the air with sweetness. As he looked northward over the mountains, he saw 7 mountains covered with choice nard and fragrant trees, cinnamon and pepper growing in abundance. He crossed over the summits of these mountains, traveling far to the east of the earth. He passed above the Erythraean Sea and went beyond it, passing the angel Zotiel, until he came to the Garden of Righteousness. From a distance he saw many trees, and among them 2 that were greater than the rest, beautiful, glorious, and magnificent. One was the tree of knowledge, whose holy fruit grants wisdom to those who eat of it. Its height was like that of the strangler fig, its leaves like the carob tree, and its fruit like clusters of the vine, fair to behold. Its fragrance carried far, and Enoch marveled at its beauty. Raphael, the holy angel who was with him, spoke and said that this was the tree of wisdom from which the first parents of mankind had eaten. By it their eyes were opened, and they learned wisdom, knowing that they were naked, and for this they were driven from the garden. Thus Enoch saw how knowledge, once taken unlawfully, had already shaped the sorrow of the world. From there he was taken to the ends of the earth, where he saw great beasts, each unlike the other, and birds differing in form, beauty, and voice. To the east of these creatures he saw the place where the heavens rest upon the earth, and the portals of heaven standing open. He watched as the stars of heaven came forth through their gates. Their number, names, courses, positions, times, and months were shown to him, as Uriel explained and recorded them, revealing their laws and their appointed companies. He was led northward to the ends of the earth, where he saw a great and glorious structure at the edge of the world. There were 3 open portals of heaven, from which the north winds proceed. When they blow, they bring cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. One portal sends winds for blessing, while the other 2 bring violence and affliction upon the earth. From there he went to the west and saw 3 open portals like those in the east, and then to the south, where 3 more portals released dew, rain, and wind. Returning again toward the east, he saw the eastern portals of heaven, with smaller portals above them, through which the stars pass and run their courses to the west along the paths shown to them. As Enoch beheld these things, again and again, he blessed the Lord of glory. He praised the one who had wrought great and wondrous works, revealing the greatness of his creation to angels, to spirits, and to men, so that all might see the work of his might, praise the labor of his hands, and bless him forever, even as the earth below bore the weight of violence and bloodshed, born from the corruption that had spread among its inhabitants. After some days had passed, Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she conceived and bore a child. From the moment he was born, it was clear that this birth was unlike any other upon the earth. His body was white as snow, yet flushed with red like the bloom of a rose. The hair of his head and his long locks were white as pure wool, and his eyes were beautiful beyond measure. When the child opened his eyes, light poured forth from them, filling the house as the rising sun fills the morning. The walls were bathed in brightness, and the shadows fled before him. Then, while still in the hands of the midwife, the child rose, opened his mouth, and spoke, blessing the Lord of righteousness. The sound of his voice did not belong to an infant, and the weight of it caused fear to fall upon those who witnessed it. His father Lamech was seized with terror. He could not endure the sight, but fled from the house and went to his father Methuselah. Trembling, he spoke to him, saying that a strange son had been born to him, unlike the sons of men and resembling the sons of the God of heaven. His nature was not like theirs. His eyes shone like rays of the sun, and his countenance was glorious. Lamech feared that the child was not sprung from him, but from the angels, and that a great wonder would be wrought upon the earth in his days. Because of this fear, he begged his father to go to Enoch and learn the truth, for Enoch's dwelling was among the angels. When Methuselah heard these words, he journeyed to the ends of the earth, where Enoch was, and cried out to him. Enoch heard his voice and came to meet him, asking why he had come. Methuselah spoke of the child born to Lamech, describing again his appearance, his light-filled eyes, and the blessing he spoke upon his birth. He told Enoch of Lamech's fear, that the child might be in the likeness of the angels of heaven. And he asked that the truth be made known. Then Enoch answered him, speaking of what had already been shown to him in a vision. He said that the Lord would do a new thing upon the earth. In the days of his father Jared, some of the angels of heaven had transgressed the word of the Lord. They had sinned, broken the law, and united themselves with women, begetting children by them. From this union, giants were born upon the earth, not according to the Spirit, but according to the flesh. Because of this, a great punishment would come, and the earth would be cleansed from all impurity. A great destruction would spread over the whole earth, and a deluge would come, bringing devastation for 1 year. Yet the child who had been born would remain upon the earth, and his 3 sons with him. While all mankind would perish, he and his sons would be saved. Enoch told Methuselah to make this known to Lamech. The child was truly his son. He was to be called Noah, for he would be left to them, and through him and his sons, deliverance would come from the destruction brought upon the earth because of sin and unrighteousness. Enoch spoke also of what was written upon the heavenly tablets, that generation after generation would transgress, until a generation of righteousness would arise, and sin would pass away from the earth. When Methuselah heard all these things, he returned and made them known to Lamech. And he called the child Noah, for he would comfort the earth after all the destruction that was to come. The holy angels looked down from heaven and saw what had become of the earth. Blood was being poured out without measure, and lawlessness spread across the ground like a stain that could not be washed away. From the height of their dwelling, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel beheld the violence below, and the sight of it weighed heavily upon them. They spoke to one another, saying that the earth, once formed to be inhabited in peace, now cried out. The voice of those who suffered rose from the ground and ascended toward the gates of heaven. The souls of men, crushed beneath violence and deceit, lifted their plea upward, making their suit known to the holy ones of heaven, and calling for their cause to be brought before the Most High. Together they lifted their voices to the Lord of the ages, addressing him as Lord of lords and God of gods, King of kings and God of all generations. They spoke of his throne of glory, which stands firm through every age, and of his name, holy and blessed forever. They confessed that he had made all things and held power over all things, that nothing was hidden from his sight, and that all creation lay open before him. They declared that he had seen what Azazel had done, how he taught unrighteousness upon the earth and revealed secrets that had been kept in heaven, knowledge that men were never meant to possess. They spoke also of Samlazaz, to whom authority had been given, and who had led his companions into rebellion. These angels had gone in to the daughters of men, defiled themselves, and taught sins of every kind. From these unions, giants had been born, and through them the whole earth had been filled with blood and unrighteousness. The holy angel spoke again, saying that the souls of those who had died now cried out unceasingly at the gates of heaven. Their lamentation did not rest, for the lawless deeds upon the earth continued without restraint. They acknowledged that the Most High knew all things before they came to pass, and yet they asked what was to be done, for judgment had not yet been declared. Then the Most High spoke. The Holy and Great One gave command, and he sent Uriel to the son of Lamech. He told him to go to Noah and speak in his name, instructing him to hide himself, for the end was approaching. The whole earth would be destroyed, and a deluge would come upon it, wiping away all that was upon it. Noah was to be warned so that he might escape, and that his seed might be preserved for all generations. The Lord then spoke to Raphael, and commanded him to bind Azazel hand and foot, to cast him into the darkness, and to open a pit in the desert called Dudael. There he was to be thrown, covered with jagged and rough stones, wrapped in darkness so that he would not see the light. He would remain there until the day of the great judgment, when he would be cast into the fire. Through this, the earth was to be healed from the corruption the angels had brought upon it, and the plague was to be restrained so that mankind would not perish completely through the forbidden knowledge that had been revealed. To Gabriel, the Lord gave command to proceed against the children born of corruption, against the offspring of fornication. He was to set them against one another so that they would destroy each other in battle, for they would not be granted long life. The pleas of their fathers would not be heard, though they hoped their children would live for centuries. To Michael, the Lord spoke again, commanding him to bind Samlazaz and those who had joined themselves to women and defiled themselves. They were to be bound for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth until the day of their judgment and their final consummation arrived. After that, they would be led to the abyss of fire, to torment and imprisonment forever, bound with all who were condemned alongside them. The command went forth that all wrongdoing was to be destroyed from the face of the earth. Every evil work was to come to an end, and the plant of righteousness and truth was to appear. Righteousness and truth would be planted in joy, and the righteous would escape and live in peace, their days fulfilled without fear. The earth itself would be cleansed and tilled in righteousness, filled with trees and abundance, vines yielding wine in measure beyond counting, and the labor of men crowned with blessing. All oppression, unrighteousness, sin, godlessness, and uncleanness were to be removed from the earth. The children of men would become righteous, nations would worship and praise the Most High, and the earth would be cleansed from defilement and punishment. The Lord declared that he would no longer send destruction upon it from generation to generation, and that the storehouses of blessing in heaven would be opened, pouring truth and peace upon the world. Before these things unfolded, Enoch was hidden, and no one among the children of men knew where he dwelt. His days were among the holy ones, and his work concerned the watchers. As he blessed the Lord of Majesty, the watchers called to him, naming him the scribe of righteousness, and commanded him to go and declare judgment to those who had left the high and holy place, defiled themselves with women, and taken wives as men do. Enoch went and spoke the words given to him. He told them they had wrought destruction upon the earth and would find neither peace nor forgiveness. They would witness the destruction of their own children and lament without relief, for mercy would not be granted to them. He spoke to Azazel, declaring that no peace would be given to him, for a severe sentence had gone forth because of the unrighteousness he had taught. When Enoch spoke these words, fear seized the watchers. Trembling, they begged him to write a petition for them, that it might be read before the Lord of heaven. They could no longer lift their eyes to heaven, nor speak with him, for shame had overtaken them. Enoch wrote their petition and their plea, then went and sat by the waters of Dan and read it until sleep overtook him. In a dream, visions of chastisement were shown to him, and a voice commanded him to return and declare them to the sons of heaven. When he awoke, he found them gathered together, weeping, their faces covered in grief. And Enoch recounted to them all that he had seen, speaking words of righteousness and delivering the reprimand appointed for the heavenly watchers. Enoch spoke the words entrusted to him, words shaped by a vision given in sleep and sealed by the command of the Holy Great One. What he declared did not rise from his own breath alone, but from understanding granted by God, who had given to mankind the power to speak and to comprehend wisdom with the heart. In the same way, Enoch had been formed and appointed to speak words of reprimand to the watchers, the children of heaven. He made known what had been shown to him, that the petition written on behalf of the watchers would not be granted, not in those days, nor in all the days of eternity. Judgment had already been set, and the decree would not be reversed. They would not ascend again into heaven, but would remain bound upon the earth, held fast for the length of the world's appointed time. They would first behold the destruction of their beloved sons. Those in whom they delighted would fall by the sword before their eyes, and no plea made for them would be heard. Not even their own cries, prayers, or the words written in their petition would alter what had been determined. The sentence stood complete. Enoch described how the vision came upon him. Clouds summoned him, mist called him forward, and the courses of the stars and the flash of lightning hastened him along. Winds lifted him and carried him upward, bearing him into heaven. There he approached a wall built of crystal and encircled by tongues of fire. And fear seized him as the flames surrounded the path before him. Passing through the fire, he came to a great house built of crystal, its walls like a floor of gleaming stone, its foundation pure and clear. Its ceiling followed the paths of the stars and the lightnings, and between them stood fiery cherubim with water above them. Fire surrounded the walls, and its doors burned with flame. Inside, heat and cold met together, and there was no comfort there. Fear covered him, and trembling overcame him. As he fell upon his face, another vision was shown. A second house stood before him, greater than the first, its gate standing open. It was built entirely of fire, excelling in splendor beyond description. Its floor burned, lightnings moved above it, and a throne stood within, radiant like crystal, its wheels shining like the sun. Streams of flaming fire flowed from beneath it, and Enoch could not look upon them. Upon the throne sat the great glory. His raiment shone brighter than the sun and whiter than snow. No angel could draw near to behold his face, and no flesh could stand before him. Fire encircled him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, though he needed no counselor. As Enoch lay trembling, he was called and told to approach. He was commanded to speak to the watchers and declare why their sentence stood. They had left the high and holy heaven, defiled themselves with women, taken wives, and done as the children of earth do. Though they had been spiritual, living the eternal life, they had lusted after flesh and blood, and through them giants had been born. Because of this, the giants would become evil spirits upon the earth, afflicting, oppressing, and destroying. These spirits would rise against mankind until the day of consummation, when judgment would be completed. The Watchers had revealed mysteries not given to them, and through these, men and women had multiplied evil upon the earth. Thus Enoch was sent to say to them one final word: without ornament and without mercy, they would have no peace. In those days, Noah looked upon the earth and saw that it had begun to sink and give way, as though its foundations were loosening beneath the weight of what had been done upon it. The land trembled, and the signs of destruction drew near. Fear took hold of him, and he rose and journeyed to the ends of the earth, lifting his voice toward his grandfather Enoch. He cried out 3 times, his voice embittered with sorrow and urgency, saying, "Hear me, hear me, hear me." The cry did not fade into the air, but carried with it the distress of a world on the brink. And Enoch answered him, asking what had befallen the earth that it should be so shaken and brought so low, and whether Noah too would perish with it. As these words were spoken, a great commotion arose upon the earth. The ground stirred, and a voice was heard from heaven. Noah fell upon his face, overcome by the sound and the weight of what surrounded him. Then Enoch came and stood beside him, and asked why he had cried out with such bitterness and weeping. Enoch made known what had been decreed. A command had gone forth from the presence of the Lord concerning those who dwelt upon the earth. Their ruin had been determined, because they had learned the secrets of the angels and embraced the violence of the Satans and their hidden powers. Sorcery had spread, witchcraft had taken root, and the knowledge of molten images had been revealed. The workings of the earth itself had been laid bare, how silver is drawn from dust, how metals arise from hidden fountains guarded by angels of authority. Then Enoch took Noah by the hand and raised him up. He told him that he had asked the Lord of Spirits about the great commotion upon the earth, and the answer had been given. Because of unrighteousness, judgment had been fixed and would not be withheld forever. Because of the sorceries that had been sought out and taught, the earth and those who dwelt upon it were marked for destruction. Those who had revealed what was hidden would find no place for repentance, for they had shown forbidden things and stood condemned. But Noah was not counted among them. The Lord of Spirits knew that he was pure and free from guilt concerning these secrets. His name had been destined to stand among the holy, and he would be preserved among those who still dwelt upon the earth. From Noah's seed, Enoch declared, would come kingship and great honor. A fountain of the righteous and holy would proceed from him without number, enduring through all generations. This promise was not spoken lightly, but rested upon what had been appointed in heaven. Then Enoch showed Noah the angels of punishment, prepared to go forth and loose the powers of the waters beneath the earth, bringing judgment and destruction upon all who dwelt upon it. Yet the Lord of Spirits gave command that the waters should not yet rise, ordering the angels who held power over them to restrain their force. After these things were shown to him, Noah departed from the presence of Enoch, carrying with him the knowledge of what was to come and the weight of a calling set apart from the destruction determined for the earth. In those days, the word of God came forth and was spoken concerning Noah. His lot had risen before the Most High, a lot found without blame, marked by love and uprightness. He stood apart from the corruption of the earth, known and weighed in the presence of the Lord, not by merit of strength, but by purity of walk. The Lord made known that the angels were already at work, carrying out what had been appointed. When their task was completed, he would place his hand upon it and preserve it. From what remained would come forth the seed of life, and a change would be set in motion, so that the earth would not remain without inhabitant. Though judgment would pass over it, desolation would not have the final word. The Lord declared that he would establish Noah's seed before him forever. Those who dwelt with him would be spread abroad upon the earth. They would not be barren upon its face, but would be blessed and multiply, bearing fruit in the name of the Lord. In this promise, preservation was set against destruction, and continuity against ruin. But concerning the angels who had acted in unrighteousness, a different decree was spoken. They were to be imprisoned in the burning valley that Enoch had previously been shown in the west, among the mountains formed of gold and silver, iron, soft metal, and tin. This was the place appointed for their confinement, hidden yet terrible, prepared long before their descent. Noah saw that valley, and within it a great convulsion. The waters there were not still, but heaved and writhed, as though the earth itself rejected what had been cast into it. Fire and molten metal mingled beneath the land, and from the turmoil rose a stench of sulfur, thick and choking, bound to the waters that surged through the valley. That place burned beneath the surface of the earth, unseen by those who walked above it, yet enduring in judgment. Through its depths flowed streams of fire, marking the punishment of the angels who had led astray those who dwelt upon the earth. There they were confined, not wandering, not ruling, but held fast beneath the weight of what they had done. Thus the sentence upon the watchers was sealed. Their power was broken, their movement ended, and their dwelling changed from the heights of heaven to the depths prepared for their transgression. And the earth, though scarred by their deeds, moved steadily toward the cleansing that had been spoken. The waters prepared for judgment were shown to Enoch. and their purpose was made plain. In those days they would serve the kings, the mighty and the exalted ones who dwell upon the earth. To them, these waters would bring healing to the body, easing pain and restoring strength. Yet what refreshed the flesh would not heal the spirit, for their spirits were filled with lust, and through the body they would be punished. They had denied the Lord of spirits, turning their hearts away from his name. Though they would witness their punishment day after day, they would not believe, nor would they turn. As the burning of their bodies grew more severe, a corresponding change would take place within their spirits, fixed and unending. Before the Lord of spirits, no word is idle, and no denial passes without weight. Judgment would come upon them because they trusted in the desires of their flesh and rejected the Spirit of the Lord. What they pursued for comfort would become a testimony against them. In those same days, the waters themselves would change. When the angels were punished within them, the springs would alter their nature. When the angels ascended, the waters would cool, revealing that they were not governed by chance, but by command. Michael spoke concerning this judgment, declaring that the sentence passed upon the angels would stand as a testimony to the kings and the mighty who possessed the earth. They would look upon the waters of judgment and mistake them for blessing, believing only in what pleased the body. They would not perceive what was hidden beneath, nor would they believe what was spoken. Because these waters ministered to their physical healing and fed the lusts of their flesh, their sight would remain clouded. They would not understand that the same waters would one day be transformed, no longer bringing relief, but becoming a fire that burns forever. Thus, mercy was withheld from the fallen, and forgiveness did not come. The judgment stood unaltered, bearing witness against all who denied the Lord of spirits. After these things, Enoch's name was lifted up during his lifetime, raised from among those who dwell upon the earth, and brought before the Son of Man and the Lord of spirits. He was taken from the number of men, and the measure of his days among them was complete. He was raised aloft upon the chariots of the Spirit, and as he ascended, his name vanished from the ranks of those who walk the ground of the world. From that day, he was no longer counted among them. He was set between the two winds, between the north and the west, where angels stretched out cords to measure a place prepared for the elect and the righteous. There he saw the first fathers and those who had walked in righteousness from the beginning, dwelling in the place appointed for them. Then his spirit was translated, and he ascended into the heavens. He saw the holy sons of God stepping upon flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their faces shone like snow, untouched by shadow or decay. Before him flowed 2 streams of fire, and their light gleamed like hyacinth. Overcome by what he beheld, Enoch fell upon his face before the Lord of spirits. Michael seized him by his right hand and raised him up. He led him through the hidden things, revealing the secrets of righteousness and the mysteries of the ends of heaven. He showed him the chambers of the stars and all the luminaries, and the places from which they proceed before the face of the holy ones. Enoch's spirit was then carried into the heaven of heavens. There he saw a structure built of crystal, and between the crystals moved tongues of living fire. Streams of fire encircled the house, forming its boundary, and around it stood the seraphim, the cherubim, and the ophanim, who do not sleep but guard the throne of glory. Angels beyond number surrounded the dwelling, thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Phanuel moved in and out of that house, along with countless holy angels. Then the head of days came forth among them, his head white and pure as wool, his garment beyond description. At the sight, Enoch fell upon his face. His body grew weak, his spirit was transformed, and he cried out with a loud voice, blessing and glorifying with the spirit of power. His words were pleasing before the head of days. The head of days came near with Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phanuel, and with them hosts beyond number. He spoke and greeted Enoch with his voice, declaring that the Son of Man, born unto righteousness, stood before him. Righteousness abides with him, and the righteousness of the head of days does not depart from him. Peace was proclaimed to Enoch in the name of the world to come, a peace that had proceeded since the creation of the world and would remain forever. All would walk in his ways, for righteousness does not forsake him. With him would be the dwelling of the righteous, and their inheritance would remain with him without separation. Length of days would be granted, and peace and uprightness would endure in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. Uriel, the holy angel who guided Enoch, began to show him the courses of the luminaries of heaven. He revealed their relations, each according to its class, its dominion, its appointed season, its name, and its place of origin. These laws were fixed not for a moment, nor for a single age, but for all the years of the world, enduring until the new creation is accomplished and time itself is fulfilled. First, Enoch was shown the path of the great luminary, the sun. Its rising was appointed in the eastern portals of heaven, and its setting in the western portals. 6 portals opened in the east and 6 in the west, and through these the sun moved in ordered succession. The moon also rose and set through these same portals, along with the leaders of the stars and those who followed them. Each movement corresponded precisely, with windows opening to the right and left in their seasons, releasing flame according to command. The sun went forth first, vast and radiant, its circumference like the breadth of the heaven itself. It was filled with illuminating and heating fire, and the wind drove the chariot upon which it ascended. When it descended, it returned through the north to reach the east again, guided unerringly to its appointed gate, shining upon the face of the heaven without delay or rest. In the first month, the sun rose through the great 4th portal. From that gate it rose 30 mornings in succession and set again in the 4th portal of the west. As it did so, the days lengthened and the nights shortened until the day exceeded the night. The balance of light and darkness shifted by exact measure, each change counted and set. From the 4th portal, the sun moved to the 5th, then to the 6th, rising and setting according to the sign appointed for it. With each passage, the day grew longer and the night shorter, until the day became double the night. Then the course turned again, and the sun began its return, shortening the day and lengthening the night, retracing its divisions without error. It passed again through the 6th portal, then the 5th, then the 4th, until day and night were made equal. From there it entered the 3rd, then the 2nd, then the 1st portal, and the night grew longer than the day. The measures changed by exact parts until the night became double the day. Yet even then, the sun did not stray, but completed its course and returned once more, restoring the balance step by step. Thus the year was completed in 364 days, and the lengthening and shortening of day and night arose from the course of the sun alone. It ran its circuit without rest, day and night, as it had been commanded from the beginning. Its light was 7-fold brighter than the light of the moon, though in size they were equal, each fulfilling its own purpose. After this, Uriel showed Enoch the law of the smaller luminary, the moon. Its course was also governed by measure. Its circumference matched that of the heaven, and its chariot was driven by the wind. Light was given to it in portion, not in fullness. Its rising and setting changed each month, and its days were like the days of the sun. When its light was complete, it reached a 7th part of the sun's brightness. In all these things, Enoch saw that neither sun nor moon moved by chance. Each followed a law spoken before time, each obeyed its course without transgression, bearing witness to the order set by the Lord of Spirits, whose command the heavens themselves cannot disobey. Uriel continued to instruct Enoch, unveiling the measured course of the moon and the hidden order by which nights and seasons are governed. He showed how the moon rises in the east on the 30th morning, appearing for the first time alongside the sun in the portal from which the sun goes forth. At her appearing, only a portion of her light is visible, while the greater part of her circumference remains without illumination, waiting for its appointed increase. Her light grows by exact measure, received in seventh parts, neither more nor less. When she sets with the sun and rises again with him, she takes to herself a portion of light for the night. At the beginning of her course, she is unseen in the darkness. But day by day, her brightness increases until she stands full and clear in her appointed time. Then, in the same measured way, her light diminishes, retreating again toward shadow without disorder or haste. Uriel showed Enoch how the moon completes her monthly revolution according to the law spoken for her. In certain months, she alters her setting, and in others, she follows a path distinct yet appointed. At times, she sets with the sun, passing through the middle portals. At other times, she moves ahead or lags behind, always returning to her course without transgression. Her movements are not random, but governed by number and command. The reckoning of years was made plain. The sun and the stars complete the years with exact justice, never advancing nor delaying their positions by a single day. The year is fulfilled in 364 days, measured through the portals by which the sun rises and sets. Though the moon falls behind the sun and stars, her course too is known and accounted for, her loss of days marked and understood within the greater order. Uriel explained that over all creation stand leaders set above the thousands, appointed also over the 4 days added beyond the reckoning of the year. These days serve their purpose, though men often go astray in understanding them. Yet the luminaries themselves do not err. They render their service faithfully at the world stations, completing the year according to what has been fixed. Enoch was shown the 12 doors in the circuit of the sun's chariot, through which warmth is poured out upon the earth in its season. From these openings come heat, dew, and rain, each released at its appointed time. Likewise, the portals of heaven at the ends of the earth were revealed, from which the sun, moon, stars, and all the works of heaven proceed in the east and in the west. He saw chariots moving in the heavens above these portals, bearing the stars that never set, one greater than all the rest, whose course spans the whole world. At the ends of the earth, 12 portals stood open for the winds. From 4 of these came winds of blessing and prosperity. From the others came winds that brought affliction and destruction upon land and sea alike. The east wind brought desolation, heat, and drought. Another brought rain, fruitfulness, and dew. Others carried cold, fragrant airs, or rain mixed with locusts and ruin. Each wind moved according to its gait and its command, touching the earth as it had been appointed to do. In all these things, Enoch was shown that the heavens move by law, not by chance. Stars, seasons, winds, and times obey the word spoken over them. They do not rebel, nor do they forget their course, but serve without ceasing, bearing witness to the order established by the Lord of glory over heaven and earth. Uriel continued to unfold the order set upon the heavens, showing how every wind, every quarter, and every boundary moved according to command. From the middle portal came health and rain, dew and prosperity. From another in the west issued clouds and hoarfrost, snow and rain, dew and locusts. Nothing was released without measure, and nothing moved beyond what had been appointed. The west winds followed, each emerging from its gate. From the portal adjoining the north came dew and hoarfrost, cold and frost and snow. From the middle gate flowed rain and blessing, prosperity given in season. From the last portal, leaning toward the south, came drought and burning, desolation and destruction. Thus, the 12 portals of the 4 quarters were completed, each bearing its law, its plague, and its benefaction, all shown in fullness. The quarters of the heaven were named. The east was called first, for from it all beginnings proceed. The south was set apart, for there the Most High would descend in a special way. The west was named diminished, because there the luminaries wane and go down. The north was divided into 3 parts, one for the dwelling of men, one for seas and abysses, forests and rivers, darkness and clouds, and the third for the garden of righteousness. Enoch saw 7 high mountains, rising higher than all others upon the earth. From them came hoarfrost, and through them days and seasons and years passed away. He saw 7 great rivers, larger than all the rest. One poured from the west into the great sea. Others flowed from the north into the Erythraean Sea, while the remaining streams discharged their waters into seas and wilderness alike. He saw 7 great islands, some upon the mainland, others set within the great sea. The names of the luminaries were made known. The sun bore 2 names, and the moon 4, each according to its course and manifestation. Their size was equal, their circumference like that of heaven itself. Yet the sun carried 7 portions of light beyond the moon, transferred by measure until its appointed fullness was reached. Enoch saw how the moon grew and waned, receiving light day by day until her fullness was complete, then diminishing again in exact order until all her light vanished. Months were measured, some of 30 days, some of 29. Her phases did not wander, but followed the sign of the year and the law spoken over her. He saw how the new moon was named on the day her light first rose upon her, and how she became full when she rose opposite the sun and shone through the night. Then she waned again, withdrawing her light until her course was completed. Weeks, months, and years unfolded without error, all accounted for in their stations. Uriel showed him the laws for every day, every season, every year, and every week. He showed how the moon fell behind the sun by a measured number of days, and how this too was known and contained within the order. Nothing was hidden, nothing overlooked. Thus Enoch beheld the harmony of the cosmos. The heavens obeyed without resistance. Sun, moon, stars, winds, and seasons moved in perfect accord, each fulfilling its charge. And in this order, clear and unbroken, the contrast stood plain against the earth below, where rebellion had brought confusion, and violence had broken the peace that heaven itself never forsook. Uriel spoke again, answering Enoch and drawing his sight beyond what had already been shown. He declared that all things had been revealed to him, the sun and the moon, the leaders of the stars of heaven, those who guide them, their tasks, their appointed times, and their departures. Nothing in the heavens moved unseen or unrecorded. Then Uriel made known what would come upon the earth in the days of sinners. The years would be shortened, and the seed of men would be slow upon their lands and fields. The order of the earth would falter. Rain would be withheld, and the heavens would restrain their gift. The fruits of the ground would fail to appear in their season, and the trees would withhold what they once bore in abundance. The moon would alter her order and would not appear at her appointed time. The sun would be seen out of place, shining with a brightness beyond its measure, traveling along the extremity of its course in the west. Chiefs of the stars would transgress their order, altering their paths and failing to appear in the seasons prescribed to them. Because of this, the whole order of the stars would be concealed from the sinners. The thoughts of those who dwell upon the earth would wander, and they would err in their understanding. They would turn from their paths and mistake the luminaries for gods. Evil would multiply upon them, and punishment would come to destroy them. Then Uriel said, "Observe, Enoch, these heavenly tablets. Read what is written upon them, and mark every individual fact." And Enoch looked upon the tablets of heaven. He read all that was written and understood what he read. There he saw recorded the book of all the deeds of mankind, of every child of flesh who would walk upon the earth, even to the remotest generations. At this sight Enoch blessed the great Lord, the King of glory, forever, for he had made all the works of the world. He praised him for his patience and blessed him because of the children of men. And he spoke, saying that, "Blessed is the one who dies in righteousness and goodness, against whom no record of unrighteousness is written, and for whom no day of judgment is found." After these things, the 7 holy ones brought Enoch and set him down upon the earth before the door of his house. They commanded him to declare everything to his son Methuselah, and to show all his children that no flesh is righteous before the Lord, for he alone is their creator. He was given 1 year to remain with his son, to give instruction, to teach his children, to record these things for them, and to testify to all his household. They told him that after the 2nd year he would be taken from among them, yet his heart was to be strong, for the good would proclaim righteousness to the good. The righteous would rejoice with the righteous and offer blessing to one another. The sinners would die with the sinners, and the apostate would go down with the apostate. Even the righteous would be taken away because of the deeds of men, removed on account of the works of the godless. When these words were finished, the angels ceased to speak with him, and Enoch returned to his people, carrying the weight of what had been written in heaven, blessing the Lord of the world as he walked among men once more. Enoch turned his words toward Methuselah and spoke with care, recounting and writing down everything that had been revealed to him. He had been entrusted with these things not to keep for himself, but to pass on. The books given into his hand were to be preserved, carried forward from generation to generation, so that what was shown in heaven would not be lost upon the earth. He spoke of the wisdom given to Methuselah and to his children after him, a wisdom that surpasses human thought. Those who understand it would not drift into forgetfulness, but would remain attentive, listening with the ear and receiving what was taught. This wisdom would be sweeter to them than good food, sustaining the heart and steadying the mind. "Blessed," he said, "are the righteous, and blessed are those who walk in the way of righteousness, without turning aside as sinners do." Enoch set forth the measure of time as it had been appointed. The sun traverses the heavens, entering and departing through its portals for 30 days at a time, guided by the heads of thousands among the stars. With them move the 4 intercalary days that divide the year into its portions. These days are often overlooked by men, and because of this, they err in their reckoning. Yet they belong to the year and are recorded forever, and the year is completed in 364 days, exact and unchanging. All of this had been revealed by Uriel, to whom the Lord of the whole creation had given authority over the host of heaven. He governs night and day, the giving of light to men through the sun, the moon, and the stars, and through all the powers that move in their circular chariots. Each star has its order, its season, its festival, and its month, watched over by leaders who ensure they enter their stations at the appointed time. 4 leaders divide the 4 parts of the year, followed by 12 who divide the months. Heads over thousands divide the days, and leaders stand also over the 4 intercalary days that separate the seasons. Each stands in place, each follows after another, and together they uphold the order of time. At the beginning of the year, one leader rises first and rules for 91 days. In his dominion, signs appear upon the earth, heat and calm, fruit on the trees, leaves spreading, harvests rising from the fields, flowers blooming, while the trees of winter wither away. After him another leader takes rule, also for 91 days, and in those days the heat grows stronger, fruits ripen fully, flocks multiply, and the produce of the earth is gathered in. Thus Enoch declared the measure of time as it had been shown to him, years and days ordered without confusion, seasons governed by appointed rulers, all moving according to command. What heaven keeps faithfully, he placed into the care of his Son, that the generations to come might know that time itself is not wandering, but written and watched over before the Lord of all. Enoch turned his words toward Methuselah and began to recount the visions that had been shown to him, visions received before his life had taken its settled course. 2 visions he had seen before he took a wife, each unlike the other. The first came when he was still learning to write. The second came later, before he took Methuselah's mother, and it was terrible in its weight. Lying in the house of his grandfather Mahalaleel, Enoch saw the heaven collapse. It was torn from its place and cast down upon the earth. As it fell, the earth opened beneath it, swallowed by a vast abyss. Mountains were hurled upon mountains, hills sank beneath hills, and tall trees were ripped from their roots and flung downward, vanishing into the depths. A cry rose from within him, and the word fell upon his tongue: "The earth is destroyed." Mahalaleel awoke him and asked why he cried out with such lamentation. Enoch told him the vision in full, and his grandfather answered that what he had seen was dreadful and of great consequence. It revealed the secrets of the sin of the earth, and because of that sin, destruction would come. The earth would sink into the abyss and be consumed by great judgment. Yet Mahalaleel urged him to rise and petition the Lord of glory, that a remnant might remain and the whole earth not be destroyed. Enoch rose and prayed. He implored the Lord and wrote down his petition for the generations to come. When he went out and saw the ordered heavens again, the sun rising in the east, the moon setting in the west, the stars in their places, and the earth as it had been known from the beginning, he blessed the Lord of judgment. He praised the one who set the sun upon its path and commanded it to traverse the heavens without error. Lifting his hands, he blessed the Holy and Great One, declaring his eternal kingship, his dominion over heaven and earth, his wisdom that never departs, and his sight that misses nothing. He acknowledged that the angels of heaven had trespassed, and that wrath now abided upon the flesh of men until the great day of judgment. Yet he pleaded that righteousness might be established as an eternal seed, and that not all flesh be destroyed. After this, another dream was shown to him. Speaking again to Methuselah, Enoch described what he had seen before taking his wife. A white bull came forth from the earth, followed by a heifer. With them came 2 bulls, one black and one red. The black bull gored the red and chased him across the earth until the red one vanished from sight. The black bull grew strong, and many oxen came forth from him, resembling him and following after him. The heifer mourned for the red bull she had lost, searching for him with great lamentation until the first bull returned and quieted her. After this, she bore another white bull, and from him came many white bulls like him, multiplying in succession. Then Enoch saw a star fall from heaven. It descended among the oxen, rising to feed and pasture among them. After this, the great and black oxen changed their dwelling places and their pastures, mingling together and dwelling side by side. Thus Enoch set before his son the visions of judgment and of what would follow after: collapse and intercession, destruction and preservation, confusion born of rebellion, and the slow unfolding of restoration, according to what had been written before time. Enoch continued to speak, and the vision did not relent. He lifted his eyes again toward heaven and saw many stars descend, casting themselves down to that first fallen star. They took on the form of bulls among the cattle and pastured freely among them. As he watched, they cast off restraint and acted without shame, covering the cows of the oxen. The earth was filled with their offspring, and the cows conceived and bore creatures vast and strange: elephants, camels, and asses. Fear spread among the oxen. They trembled at the sight of these beings and turned upon one another in confusion. They bit with their teeth, gored with their horns, and devoured one another. Soon they began to devour the oxen themselves, and all the children of the earth shook with terror, fleeing from before them. Violence multiplied, and the earth cried out beneath the weight of bloodshed. As the vision unfolded, Enoch saw the beasts turn against one another, goring and consuming until the ground itself lifted its voice. Then he looked again toward heaven and saw beings descend, radiant and white, like men formed of light. 4 came forth, and 3 followed after them. The 3 who came last took hold of Enoch by the hand and lifted him away from the generations of the earth, raising him to a lofty place where a tower stood high above the land, and all the hills lay beneath it. One of them said to him, "Remain here until thou seest all that befalls the elephants, camels, asses, the stars, the oxen, and all of them." From that height, Enoch watched as one of the 4 seized the first star that had fallen from heaven. He bound it hand and foot and cast it into a narrow, deep abyss, dark and dreadful to behold. Another drew a sword and placed it into the hands of the elephants, camels, and asses. They turned upon one another, striking without mercy, and the whole earth quaked beneath their fury. Then one of the 4 hurled stones from heaven, gathering the great stars whose lust had been revealed. He bound them all and cast them into an abyss within the earth, sealing them in darkness. One of the 4 went to the white bull and instructed him in a secret. The bull was not terrified. He was born a bull, yet became a man. He built for himself a great vessel and dwelt within it. 3 bulls entered with him, and they were enclosed together. Enoch saw a lofty roof above, with 7 torrents of water pouring down into an enclosure. Fountains burst open from the surface of the earth, and the waters rose and spread until the enclosure was covered. Darkness and mist thickened as the waters climbed higher, streaming over the boundaries and standing upon the earth. All the cattle within the enclosure were gathered together and swallowed by the waters. They sank and perished, unable to escape. But the vessel floated upon the surface, while oxen, elephants, camels, asses, and all animals sank into the depths and vanished from sight. Then the torrents were withdrawn, and the chasms of the earth were leveled. Other abysses opened, and the waters drained away until the earth appeared again. The vessel settled upon dry ground. Darkness receded, and light returned. The white bull who had become a man emerged from the vessel, along with the 3 bulls. One was white like him, one red as blood, and one black. The white bull departed from them. From those who remained came forth beasts of the field and birds of the air, each according to its kind, lions and wolves, birds of prey and creatures of the ground. Among them, a white bull was born. Strife continued among the beasts, but the white bull begot a wild ass and another white bull. From these came further generations. Wild asses multiplied, a black wild boar arose, and from a white sheep came 12 sheep. One of the 12 was given over, passed from hand to hand, and grew among wolves. The Lord brought the remaining sheep to dwell together, and they became many flocks. Yet the wolves oppressed them, destroying them and causing them to cry out for their little ones. Their voices rose until the Lord of the sheep descended from his lofty dwelling. He came to them and pastured them. He called the sheep that had escaped and sent it to speak to the wolves, warning them not to touch the flock. Another sheep went with it, and together they stood among the wolves and admonished them. But the wolves did not heed. They oppressed the sheep with all their power, and once more the sheep cried aloud, their voices rising from the earth. The vision pressed onward without pause. The Lord came to the sheep, and they began to strike the wolves. Lamentation rose from the wolves as judgment fell upon them, while the sheep grew still and ceased their crying. Enoch saw the sheep depart from among the wolves, and the eyes of the wolves were blinded. Yet they pursued the sheep with all their strength, not knowing where they ran. The Lord of the sheep went before them as their leader, and all his sheep followed him. His face was dazzling, glorious, and terrible to behold. The wolves chased them until they reached a great sea of water. Before the sheep, the sea was divided, and the waters stood apart on either side. The Lord placed himself between the sheep and the wolves, guiding his flock through the midst. The wolves followed blindly into the sea. When they beheld the Lord of the sheep, terror seized them, and they turned to flee. But the waters gathered again as they had been created. They rose and covered the wolves, and Enoch saw them perish and be drowned. The sheep escaped and came into a wilderness where there was neither water nor grass. There the Lord pastured them, giving them water and nourishment, and the sheep who led them went before them. That leading sheep ascended a lofty rock, and the Lord stood before the flock. His appearance was majestic and dreadful, and the sheep trembled, crying, "We are not able to stand before our Lord, nor to behold him." The leader ascended again, but many sheep were blinded and wandered from the way. When the leader returned and saw their state, wrath came upon the Lord of the sheep. The leader struck those who had fallen away, and fear brought the flock back to their folds. Enoch saw that leader become a man and build a house for the Lord of the sheep, placing the flock within it. In time, that leader slept, and others arose. The sheep passed through waters again, entered a good and pleasant land, and the house stood among them. Their eyes opened and closed by turns, until another leader arose to restore them. Wild beasts came against the flock, and a ram was raised to defend them. He struck the beasts until they fled. Yet that ram grew proud and oppressed the sheep. Another was raised in his place, who led the flock rightly. Under him the sheep multiplied, the beasts were driven away, and peace endured. A great house was built, and upon it a lofty tower. The Lord of the sheep stood upon the tower, and a full table was set before him. Yet again the sheep strayed, forsaking the house. Messengers were sent to them, but the sheep struck and slew those who were sent, and the vision continued to unfold in sorrow and warning. One of the sheep was spared. It fled from among them and cried aloud over the flock, but they sought to slay it as well. The Lord of the sheep rescued it from their hands and brought it up to dwell apart, near Enoch, and there it remained. Many others were sent to testify to the flock and to lament over them, but their voices fell upon hardened ears. Enoch saw that when the sheep forsook the house of the Lord and his tower, they fell away completely. Their eyes were blinded. And the Lord of the sheep wrought slaughter among them until they themselves delivered up his dwelling. He gave them into the hands of lions and tigers, wolves and hyenas, foxes and every wild beast, and the beasts tore the sheep without restraint. The Lord forsook the house and the tower, and delivered the flock entirely to destruction. Enoch cried aloud with all his strength, appealing for the sheep as they were devoured. But the Lord remained unmoved. He rejoiced that they were swallowed up, and he summoned 70 shepherds, delivering the sheep into their hands. Each shepherd was commanded what to destroy, yet another was appointed to record every excess, each sheep slain beyond command, every act of cruelty written and laid before the Lord. The shepherds destroyed more than they were told, and the beasts consumed what remained. The tower was burned, the house demolished, and sorrow overcame Enoch until he could no longer see whether any sheep entered it again. All was recorded in the book, read, sealed, and set before the Lord of the sheep. Yet Enoch saw that 3 sheep turned back and began to rebuild what had fallen. A high tower rose again, and a table was set before it, though the bread upon it was defiled. The sheep remained blind, trampled by their shepherds, scattered among beasts and birds. Eagles and vultures devoured them until only bones remained. Still, lambs were born among the white sheep. Their eyes began to open, and they cried out, but the flock would not listen. Blindness yet covered them, and the vision pressed onward, heavy with judgment and restrained hope. Ravens descended upon the lambs, seizing them and tearing the flock apart, and the earth bore witness as innocence was devoured. Yet horns began to grow upon the lambs, signs of strength rising where weakness had dwelt. The ravens struck at those horns and cast some down, but from among the sheep there sprang a great horn, and when it lifted itself, the eyes of the flock were opened. It looked upon them and cried out, and the rams saw and gathered to it, running toward the sound of its voice. Still, the birds of prey would not cease. Eagles and vultures and kites swooped down, tearing the sheep while the flock remained silent in their suffering. Only the rams cried aloud. The ravens fought against the great horn and sought to break it, but no power was given to them. Then the sheep of the field gathered together, and with them the birds, and a great sword was given to the sheep. With it they rose against the beasts of the earth, and all fled before them. The one who wrote the book opened it before the Lord of the sheep, revealing the excess of destruction wrought by the last shepherds. The Lord rose, took the staff of his wrath, and struck the earth. The ground split open, and beasts and birds fell and were swallowed. A throne was set in the pleasant land, and the sealed books were opened. The stars that had transgressed and the shepherds who had slain beyond command were judged and cast into a fiery abyss. The old house was folded up and removed, and a new house was raised in its place, greater, loftier, filled with light. All the sheep were gathered into it, and those who had remained fell down in reverence. Their eyes were opened, and everyone saw. A white bull was born among them, and all feared him. Generations were transformed, and the flock became white and clean, and the Lord of the sheep rejoiced in their return. Enoch awoke from the vision trembling, blessing the Lord of righteousness. Tears flowed without restraint, for all that would come to pass had been shown to him in order, and the weight of it remained upon his spirit. Enoch beheld a second vision, a vision of wisdom, which he saw in the days of his life. He was the son of Jared, son of Mahalaleel, son of Canaan, son of Enos, son of Seth, son of Adam. And he lifted up his voice to speak to those who dwell upon the earth, to the men of old time, and to the generations yet to come. He said, "Hear, you who were before, and consider, you who will come after. Hear the words of the Holy One, which I speak before the Lord of Spirits. For wisdom such as this has not been given before, nor revealed as it has been revealed to me, according to the good pleasure of the Lord of Spirits, who has granted to me the lot of eternal life. 3 parables were given to Enoch, and this was the first. He spoke of the time when the congregation of the righteous would appear openly, and when sinners would be judged for their sins and driven from the face of the earth. He spoke of the day when the righteous one would be revealed to the eyes of the righteous, when light would appear to the elect who dwell upon the earth. And Enoch asked in his spirit, "Where then will the dwelling of the sinners be? Where will be the resting place of those who denied the Lord of Spirits? It would have been better for them if they had never been born. For in that day the secrets of the righteous would be revealed, and the sinners would be judged. The godless would be driven away from the presence of the righteous and the elect. From that time forward, those who possessed the earth would no longer be powerful or exalted. They would not be able to behold the face of the holy, for the Lord of Spirits would cause his light to rest upon the righteous. Then the kings and the mighty would perish, and they would be delivered into the hands of the righteous and the holy. Mercy would no longer be sought by them, for their time would be finished. In those days, holy and elect children would descend from the high heaven, and their seed would be mingled with the children of men. And Enoch received books of zeal and wrath, books of disquiet and expulsion. And the word was spoken, "Mercy shall not be granted to them," says the Lord of Spirits. Then a whirlwind lifted Enoch from the earth and set him at the ends of the heavens. There he saw another vision, the dwelling places of the holy and the resting places of the righteous. He saw their habitations with the righteous angels and their rest among the holy ones. And they prayed and interceded for the children of men. Righteousness flowed before them like water, and mercy descended upon the earth like dew, and thus it would be forever. In that place Enoch saw the elect one of righteousness and faith. His dwelling was beneath the wings of the Lord of Spirits. Righteousness would prevail in his days, and the righteous and the elect would stand before him without number forever and ever. They would shine like flaming lights. Their mouths would be full of blessing. Their lips would exalt the name of the Lord of Spirits. Righteousness would never fail before him. Enoch longed to dwell there. His spirit yearned for that place, for it had been appointed to him before the Lord of Spirits, and he praised and extolled the Lord, blessing him for assigning him glory according to his will. He said, "Blessed is he, and may he be blessed from the beginning and forever. There is no end before him. He knows what was before creation, and what shall be through all generations." Those who do not sleep stood before his glory, blessing and praising him, saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of Spirits. He fills the earth with spirits." Enoch saw countless multitudes, thousands upon thousands, 10,000 times 10,000, standing before the Lord of Spirits. And around him were 4 presences, distinct from the others. The angel who guided Enoch revealed their names to him. The first was Michael, merciful and long-suffering. The second was Raphael, set over all diseases and wounds of the children of men. The third was Gabriel, who governs all powers. The fourth was Phanuel, who presides over repentance and hope for those who inherit eternal life. These 4 uttered praises before the Lord of Spirits. One blessed him forever. One blessed the elect one. One interceded for those who dwell on the earth. And one restrained the Satans, forbidding them from accusing the children of men. After this, Enoch saw the secrets of the heavens, how the kingdom is divided, and how the deeds of men are weighed in the balance. He saw the mansions of the elect and the holy, and he saw sinners driven away because they could not endure the punishment that proceeds from the Lord of Spirits. He saw the mysteries of lightning and thunder, the divisions of the winds, the chambers of mist and cloud, and the paths of dew that nourish the earth. He saw the chambers of the sun and moon, their appointed courses, their faithful orbits, and their obedience to the command of the Lord of Spirits. Wisdom herself had sought a dwelling among the children of men, but found none. She returned to heaven and took her seat among the angels. But unrighteousness found many dwellings, spreading like rain in the desert and dew on thirsty land. Thus ended the first parable, a vision of judgment and glory, of separation and light, revealed to Enoch by the Lord of Spirits. This was the second parable, revealed concerning those who deny the dwelling of the holy ones and the name of the Lord of Spirits. Enoch was shown the fate of such sinners. They would not ascend into heaven, nor would they find rest upon the earth. This would be their portion. Those who denied the Lord of Spirits would be preserved only for the day of suffering and tribulation. In that day, the elect one would sit upon the throne of glory. He would examine the works of all, and the places of rest prepared for the righteous would be without number. When the righteous beheld the elect one, their souls would grow strong within them, and those who had called upon the glorious name of the Lord would see the elect one dwell among them. Then the Lord of Spirits would transform heaven into an eternal blessing and light, and the earth he would make a blessing also. Upon it the elect ones would dwell. But sinners and evildoers would not set foot there, for peace had been prepared for the righteous, while judgment awaited the wicked. As Enoch looked, he saw one whose head was the head of days. His hair was white like wool. With him stood another, whose appearance was like that of a man, and whose countenance was full of grace, like one of the holy angels. Enoch asked the angel who guided him, "Who is this Son of Man? From where does he come? And why does he walk with the head of days?" And the angel answered, "This is the Son of Man in whom righteousness dwells. He reveals all hidden treasures, for the Lord of Spirits has chosen him. His portion surpasses all others in uprightness forever. This Son of Man would rise against kings and the mighty. He would remove them from their thrones, loosen the power of the strong, and break the teeth of sinners. For they had not praised the Lord of Spirits, nor acknowledged that their authority was given from above. Their pride would be cast down. Shame would cover them. Darkness would be their dwelling, worms their resting place, and they would have no hope of rising again. These were the ones who judged the stars of heaven, trampled the earth, trusted in riches, worshipped idols made by their own hands, and persecuted the congregations of the faithful. The prayers of the righteous ascended before the Lord of Spirits, and the blood of the righteous cried out from the earth. The holy ones in heaven joined with one voice, pleading that judgment be executed so that suffering would not endure forever. Then Enoch saw the head of days seated upon the throne of glory. The books of the living were opened before him, and all the host of heaven stood in attendance. Joy filled the hearts of the holy, for the righteous were accounted for, their prayers heard, their blood required. Enoch saw an inexhaustible fountain of righteousness, surrounded by fountains of wisdom. All who were thirsty drank and were filled. Their dwelling was with the righteous, the holy, and the elect. At that hour, the Son of Man was named before the Lord of Spirits, his name spoken before the head of days, before the sun, before the stars were created. He was appointed as a staff for the righteous, a light to the Gentiles, and the hope of the troubled in heart. All who dwell on the earth would fall down and worship before him, praising the Lord of Spirits. He had been chosen and hidden before creation itself. Wisdom revealed him to the righteous, for they had rejected the ways of unrighteousness and were saved through his name. In those days, the kings of the earth would be downcast. In their anguish, they would find no refuge, and they would be delivered into the hands of the elect. They would burn like straw before fire and sink like lead in water. No trace of them would remain. Wisdom would flow like water, unrighteousness would vanish like a shadow, and the elect one would stand forever before the Lord of spirits, filled with wisdom, insight, power, and understanding. A transformation would come upon the holy and elect. Light and glory would rest upon them. On the day of affliction, the righteous would be victorious, and the unrepentant would perish. Then the earth would give back what was entrusted to it. Sheol and the abyss would release what they had taken. The elect one would rise and choose the righteous, for the day of salvation had drawn near. Mountains would melt like wax before him. Gold and silver would lose all power. War would cease, wealth would fail, and all false strength would be destroyed. Enoch then saw a valley of burning fire. Kings and mighty ones were cast into it, bound with chains prepared for the hosts of Azazel. On that great day, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phanuel would seize them and cast them into the furnace, avenging the corruption they brought upon the earth. Waters above and below would unite. The earth would be judged, and the mighty would behold the elect one, judging Azazel and all his hosts. In the last days, nations would be stirred, kingdoms would devour one another, and Sheol would open its jaws and swallow the sinners in the sight of the elect. The earth itself would tremble, the heavens would resound, and all would fall down and worship the Lord of spirits. Thus ended the second parable. Enoch then lifted his voice to proclaim the third parable, spoken for the righteous and the elect. Blessed are the righteous, for their portion is glory. They shall dwell in the light of the sun, and the elect in the light of eternal life. Their days shall have no end, and their peace shall endure in the name of the eternal Lord. Darkness shall pass away, and an unending light shall be established forever before the Lord of spirits. In those days, Enoch was shown the hidden workings of the heavens, the judgments carried by lightning and thunder, sent forth for blessing or for curse according to the will of the Lord of spirits. He beheld how the powers of creation obey his command, and how every force moves within appointed measure. In the 500th year of Enoch's life, a great trembling seized the heavens. The heaven of heavens shook, and the hosts of the Most High, thousands upon thousands of angels, were stirred with awe. The head of days sat upon the throne of his glory, surrounded by angels and the righteous. Fear overtook Enoch, and he fell upon his face, unable to endure the sight. Michael raised him up and spoke, saying that until this time mercy had prevailed, but a day was prepared when judgment would come, covenant for the elect, and inquiry for sinners. On that day punishment would not be withheld, yet judgment would still proceed according to God's patience and mercy. Enoch was shown how two great monsters were separated, Leviathan, set in the depths of the sea, and Behemoth, placed in a desolate wilderness near the garden of the righteous. These were appointed by God according to his greatness, and their power remained bound by his decree. He was then shown the secret order of creation, the chambers of winds and rain, frost and snow, thunder and lightning, each governed by angels and measured by divine command. Nothing moved without order. Nothing escaped the hand of the Most High. Angels were given cords and sent forth to measure the inheritance of the righteous. These measures would restore those lost to desert, beast, or sea, for none appointed by the Lord of spirits would be destroyed. Then the elect one was placed upon the throne of glory. Righteousness was poured upon him, and he was given authority to judge all deeds, both in heaven and on earth. The Lord of spirits commanded the kings and the mighty to behold him, if they were able. On that day, rulers and powerful ones stood in terror. Pain seized them, and shame covered their faces as they recognized the Son of Man, long hidden and now revealed. They fell down and worshipped, pleading for mercy. But judgment pressed upon them, and darkness deepened upon their countenances. The unrighteous were delivered to angels of punishment, becoming a spectacle for the righteous, who rejoiced in the justice of the Lord of spirits. The elect were saved and clothed in garments of glory that would never fade. They rose from the earth, no longer bowed down, and dwelt forever with the Son of Man, eating, resting, and rising in eternal peace. The kings confessed their guilt, acknowledging too late the righteousness of God, lamenting that they had trusted in their power and glory rather than the Lord of spirits. Yet no respite was granted, and they were driven from his presence. Thus the ordinance was established: judgment for the mighty who oppressed the righteous, and eternal dwelling for the elect. And Enoch saw other hidden things, angels who had descended to earth, revealing forbidden knowledge and leading mankind astray, awaiting their appointed judgment. So ended the third parable. And it came to pass that Enoch, knowing the time of his departure was near, called to his son Methuselah and said to him, "Go now, summon thy brothers, and gather to me all the sons of thy mother, for the word has called me, and the Spirit has been poured out upon me, that I may declare unto you all that shall befall you and your children forever." So Methuselah went forth and gathered his brothers, assembling all the family of Enoch. And when they were gathered together, Enoch lifted up his voice and spoke to all the children of righteousness. "Hear me," he said, "you sons of Enoch. Hear all the words of your father, and incline your ears to the voice of my mouth. For I exhort you, and I warn you as beloved children. Love righteousness, and walk in it all your days. Draw not near to righteousness with a divided heart, and do not associate yourselves with those whose hearts are double. But walk in righteousness with a whole heart, my sons, and righteousness shall guide you in good paths, and she shall be your companion wherever you go. For I know and have seen that violence shall greatly increase upon the earth. A great chastisement is prepared, and it shall be executed upon the world. All unrighteousness shall reach its fullness, and then it shall be cut off from its roots. Its entire structure shall be overthrown and destroyed. Yet even after this, unrighteousness will again arise upon the earth. Deeds of violence, transgression, and corruption will multiply, and sin shall increase in a double measure. Blasphemy will spread, and uncleanness will abound. Apostasy will grow strong, and men will delight in injustice. And when all these things increase together, then a great chastisement shall come from heaven upon them all. The holy and great Lord will come forth in wrath and judgment, and he will execute justice upon the earth. In those days violence shall be uprooted from its foundations, and deceit shall be destroyed along with it. They shall be removed from beneath the heavens, and shall no longer stand. All the idols of the nations shall be abandoned. Their temples shall be burned with fire, and the images they trusted in shall be cast away. They shall be thrown into the judgment of fire, and shall perish in wrath and grievous judgment forever. But the righteous shall arise from their sleep. Wisdom shall arise with them, and understanding shall be given unto them. Then the roots of unrighteousness shall be fully cut off. Sinners shall be destroyed by the sword, and blasphemers shall perish wherever they are found. Those who plan violence and those who speak rebellion shall fall by the very judgment they have provoked. And now, my sons, I have shown you the two paths, the path of righteousness and the path of violence. I show them to you again, that you may clearly know what shall come to pass. Therefore listen to me, my sons. Walk in the paths of righteousness, and do not walk in the paths of violence. For all who walk in the ways of unrighteousness shall perish forever. This is the book written by Enoch. Enoch, who was praised among men, appointed as a witness and judge for the earth in his days. He wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom for all his children who would dwell upon the earth and for the generations yet to come, who would observe uprightness and peace. And Enoch said, "Let not your spirit be troubled because of the times that are coming. For the Holy and Great One has appointed days for all things, and nothing escapes his order. The righteous shall arise from their sleep. They shall rise and walk in the paths of righteousness, and all their conduct shall be in eternal goodness and grace. The Lord will be gracious to them, and he will clothe them with everlasting uprightness. He will give them strength, that they may walk in goodness and righteousness, and they shall walk in eternal light. But sin shall perish in darkness forever, and from that day it shall no more be seen." After this, Enoch took the books and began to recount from them. And he said, "Concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the eternal plant of uprightness, I will speak. I, Enoch, declare these things to you, my sons, according to what was shown to me in heavenly visions, according to the word of the holy angels, and according to what I read upon the heavenly tablets. I was born the 7th in the 1st week, while judgment and righteousness still endured upon the earth. But after me, in the 2nd week, great wickedness shall arise, and deceit shall spring forth. In that time there shall be an end, yet one man shall be saved, and after that unrighteousness shall again increase, and a law shall be made for sinners. In the 3rd week, at its close, a man shall be chosen as the plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the eternal plant of righteousness. In the 4th week, at its close, visions of the holy and righteous shall appear, and a law shall be established for all generations, and an enclosure shall be made for the righteous. In the 5th week, at its close, a house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. In the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded, and their hearts shall forsake wisdom in godlessness. Yet in that week a man shall ascend, and at its close the house of dominion shall be burned with fire, and the chosen root shall be scattered. In the 7th week an apostate generation shall arise, rich in evil deeds, and all its works shall be apostasy. But at its close the elect righteous shall be chosen from the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive 7-fold instruction concerning all creation. Then Enoch lifted his voice and said, "For who among the children of men can hear the voice of the Holy One and not tremble? Who can think his thoughts? Who can behold all the works of heaven? Who can understand the breadth and length of the earth, or the height of the heavens, or the number of the stars, or the resting places of the luminaries? Now therefore, my sons, love righteousness and walk in it. For the paths of righteousness are worthy of acceptance, but the paths of unrighteousness shall suddenly vanish and be destroyed. To some in certain generations the paths of violence and death shall be revealed, and they shall keep themselves far from them and not walk in them. But as for you, righteous ones, walk not in the paths of wickedness, nor draw near to the paths of death, lest you be destroyed. Choose righteousness and an elect life for yourselves. Walk in the paths of peace, and you shall live and prosper. Hold fast my words in your hearts, and do not let them be erased from your thoughts. For I know that sinners will tempt men to mistreat wisdom, so that she finds no resting place, and temptation will increase without restraint. Woe to those who build unrighteousness and oppression, and lay deceit as their foundation, for they shall be suddenly overthrown, and shall have no peace. Woe to those who build their houses with sin, from their very foundations they shall fall, and by the sword they shall perish. Woe to those who acquire gold and silver through injustice, for suddenly they shall perish. Woe to you who are rich, who trust in your riches, for you have forgotten the Most High in the days of your wealth, and from your riches you shall depart. You have committed blasphemy and unrighteousness and have prepared yourselves for the day of slaughter, the day of darkness, and the day of great judgment. Thus I speak and declare to you, He who created you will overthrow you, and there shall be no compassion at your fall. Your Creator will rejoice at your destruction, and the righteous shall become a reproach to sinners and to the godless. Oh, that my eyes were a cloud of waters, that I might weep for you, and pour out my tears without ceasing, until my heart found rest from its sorrow. Who has permitted you to practice wickedness and reproach? Judgment shall surely overtake you, O sinners. Fear not, you righteous ones, for the Lord shall again deliver the sinners into your hands, that you may execute judgment upon them according to righteousness. Woe to you who pronounce curses that cannot be reversed. Healing shall be far from you because of your sins. Woe to you who repay your neighbor with evil, for you shall be repaid according to your works. Woe to you, false witnesses and weighers of injustice, for suddenly you shall perish. Woe to you, sinners, who persecute the righteous, for you shall be delivered up to oppression, and its yoke shall be heavy upon you. But be hopeful, you righteous ones, for suddenly the sinners shall perish before you, and you shall have authority over them according to justice. In the days of the tribulation of sinners, your children shall rise like eagles. Higher than vultures shall be their dwelling. You shall find refuge in the clefts of the earth and the rocks, while the unrighteous shall wail because of you. Fear not, you who have suffered, for healing shall be your portion. A bright light shall shine upon you, and a voice of rest shall come to you from heaven. Woe to you, sinners, for though your riches make you appear righteous, your hearts testify against you. Woe to you who devour the finest wheat and drink wine in excess and trample the lowly with your power. Woe to you who drink from every fountain but have forsaken the fountain of life. Woe to you who work deceit, blasphemy, and oppression. It shall stand as a memorial against you for evil. Woe to you, mighty ones, who oppress the righteous by strength. The day of your destruction is near. But for the righteous, many good days shall come, even in the day of judgment. And Enoch lifted his voice again and spoke, saying, Believe, you righteous, that the sinners shall become a shame and shall perish in the day of unrighteousness. Know this with certainty. The Most High is mindful of their destruction, and the angels of heaven rejoice when judgment overtakes them. What will you do, O sinners, and where will you flee on the day of judgment, when you hear the voice of the prayers of the righteous rising against you? You shall fare as those against whom this word stands as testimony. You have been companions of sinners. In those days the prayers of the righteous shall reach the Lord, and the days of your judgment shall come. All the words of your unrighteousness shall be read aloud before the great and holy one. Shame shall cover your faces, and every work grounded in injustice shall be rejected. Woe to you who dwell upon the seas and upon the dry land alike, for your remembrance is evil before heaven. Woe to you who acquire silver and gold through unrighteousness, and say in your hearts, We have grown rich, we possess all we desire, our granaries overflow like water. Yet like water, your lies shall flow away, and your riches shall not endure. Swiftly they shall rise from you, for you gathered them in injustice, and you shall be delivered to a great curse. I swear to you, both to the wise and the foolish, you shall have manifold experiences upon the earth. Men shall adorn themselves beyond women, clothing themselves in splendor, in purple and gold, in royalty and excess, and food shall be poured out before them like water. Yet they shall be empty of wisdom and doctrine, and together with their possessions they shall perish. With all their glory and splendor, in shame and slaughter and destitution, their spirits shall be cast into the furnace of fire. I swear to you, O sinners, just as a mountain has never become a slave, and a hill has never become the handmaid of a woman, So sin was not sent upon the earth, but man created it himself. Under a great curse shall all who commit it fall. Barrenness was not given to woman by creation, but through the works of her own hands comes death without inheritance. I swear to you by the Holy and Great One, none of your deeds of oppression are hidden. All your evil works are revealed in the heavens, and every sin is recorded daily before the Most High. From this moment you know that all the violence you commit is written down until the day of your judgment. Woe to you, O fools, for through your folly you shall perish. You transgress against the wise, and good fortune shall never be your portion. You are prepared for the day of destruction. Do not hope to live, O sinners, for there is no ransom for you. You are prepared for the great judgment, for the day of tribulation and great shame for your spirits. Woe to you, obstinate of heart, who eat blood and work wickedness. From where do your good things come? From the abundance the Most High placed upon the earth, yet you shall have no peace. Woe to you who love unrighteous deeds and still hope for good fortune. Know this: you shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous, and they shall execute judgment without mercy. Woe to you who rejoice in the suffering of the righteous, for no grave shall be dug for you. Woe to you who despise the words of the righteous, for you shall have no hope of life. Woe to you who write lying and godless words, that others may sin through them. Your end shall be sudden death. Woe to you who glory in deceit and extol falsehood. You shall perish without joy. Woe to those who pervert the words of uprightness and transgress the eternal law, transforming themselves into sinners. They shall be trampled upon the earth. In those days, you righteous, raise your prayers as a memorial. Place them as testimony before the angels, that the sins of the sinners may be remembered before the Most High. The nations shall be stirred up, and families shall rise on the day of destruction. The destitute shall abandon even their own children, and infants shall perish because of the cruelty of their parents. I swear to you again, O sinners, sin is prepared for a day of unceasing bloodshed. Those who worship stone and gold, wood and clay, demons and impure spirits, shall find no help in them. Their hearts shall become godless, their eyes blinded by fear and deception. They worship a lie, and therefore in an instant they shall perish. But blessed are those who accept the words of wisdom, who understand them, who walk in the path of the Most High, and do not become godless with the godless. They shall be saved. Woe to you who spread evil to your neighbors, for you shall be slain in Sheol. Woe to you who use false measures and cause bitterness on the earth. You shall be utterly consumed. Woe to you who build your houses through the toil of others, laying bricks of sin. You shall have no peace. Woe to those who abandon the eternal heritage of their fathers and follow idols. They shall never find rest. Woe to those who help oppression and murder their neighbors until the great judgment arrives. The Lord shall cast down your glory, awaken fierce indignation, and destroy you with the sword. The righteous shall remember your sins. In those days fathers and sons shall be struck down together. Brothers shall fall upon brothers, and the streams shall run with blood. From dawn to sunset they shall slay one another. Horses shall wade breast deep in blood, and chariots shall be submerged. Then the angels shall descend into the secret places and gather all who brought sin upon the earth. The Most High shall arise to execute great judgment. But over the righteous and holy he shall appoint guardians, holy angels, to guard them like the apple of his eye. Though they sleep a long sleep, they shall not fear. The children of the earth shall see the wise in peace and understand the words of this book, and they shall know that riches cannot save from judgment. Woe to you, sinners, who burn the righteous with fire. You shall be repaid according to your works. Woe to you who watch in secret to devise wickedness. Fear shall come upon you, and none shall help you. Woe to you for the words of your mouth and the deeds of your hands. Burning flames worse than fire await you. From the angels he shall inquire concerning your deeds. From the sun, the moon, and the stars he shall summon testimony. The clouds, mist, dew, and rain shall testify against you, withheld because of your sins. Though you offer gold and silver, neither rain nor dew shall heed you. When frost, snow, and storms fall upon you, you shall not be able to stand. Thus ends the warning of Enoch. And Enoch continued, and his voice was lifted as one who warns from afar, saying, Observe the heavens, O children of heaven. Look upon every work of the Most High. Fear him and work no evil in his presence. If he were to shut the windows of heaven, if he were to withhold the rain and the dew so that they no longer descend upon the earth because of you, what would you do then? When the earth becomes dry on your account, where would you turn? And if he sends his anger upon you because of your deeds, you will not be able to petition him. For you have spoken proud and insolent words against his righteousness. Therefore, you shall have no peace. Have you not seen the sailors upon the sea, how their ships are tossed back and forth by the waves, how they are shaken by the winds and fall into great distress? They fear because all their precious goods go down into the sea with them, and their hearts tremble with foreboding, for they know the sea may swallow them, and they may perish in its depths. And yet, is not the entire sea, and all its waters, and all its movements, the work of the Most High? Has he not set limits for it, and confined it with the sand? At his rebuke, the sea is afraid and dries up. Its fish perish, and all that is within it dies. Yet you sinners who dwell upon the earth do not fear him. Did he not make the heaven and the earth, and all that is within them? Who gave wisdom and understanding to every creature that moves upon the earth and in the sea? Do not even sailors fear the sea? Yet sinners do not fear the Most High. In the days when he brings grievous fire upon you, where will you flee? Where will you find deliverance? When he sends forth his word against you, will you not tremble and be afraid? All the luminaries shall be seized with fear. The whole earth shall tremble and quake. The angels shall execute his commands, and even they shall seek to veil themselves from the presence of the great glory. The children of earth shall shake with terror, and you sinners shall be cursed forever. Peace shall never again be yours. But fear not, you souls of the righteous. Be hopeful, you who have died in righteousness. Do not grieve if your soul descended into Sheol in sorrow, if in your lifetime your body did not prosper according to your goodness. Wait for the day of the judgment of sinners, the day of cursing and chastisement. For when you die, the sinners speak over you, saying, As we die, so die the righteous. What benefit have they from their deeds? Behold, they die in grief and darkness just as we do. What more have they than we? From this point onward, we are equal. What shall they see forever? Behold, they too have died, and henceforth they shall see no light. But I tell you, O sinners, you are content to eat and drink, to rob and to sin, to strip others naked, to acquire wealth and live in comfort. But have you seen how the righteous reach their end? No violence is found in them until their death. Yet they perish and seem as though they had never been, and their spirits descend into Sheol in tribulation, and still their end is not as yours. And Enoch spoke again, and he said, This is another book which I wrote for my son Methuselah, and for those who shall come after him in the last days, those who will keep the law when the end draws near. You who have done good, wait for those days. Wait until an end is made of those who work evil, and until the might of the transgressors is broken. Wait until sin itself has passed away. For their names shall be blotted out from the book of life and from the holy books. Their seed shall be destroyed forever. Their spirits shall be slain, and they shall cry aloud in lamentation. They shall dwell in a place that is a chaotic wilderness, and they shall burn in fire, for there is no earth there to sustain them. And I saw that place. It was like an invisible cloud, so deep that I could not see beyond it. Within it a flame of fire blazed brightly, and forms like shining mountains circled and swept to and fro. From it rose the sound of weeping and crying, of lamentation and unbearable pain. And I asked one of the holy angels who was with me, saying, "What is this shining terror?" It is not heaven, but a blazing fire, filled with voices of sorrow and anguish. And he answered me and said, "This is the place where the spirits of sinners are cast, of blasphemers, of those who work wickedness, and of those who twist and pervert all that the Lord spoke through the mouth of the prophets concerning the things that were to come. For some of these deeds are written above in heaven, inscribed so that the angels may read them and know what awaits the sinners. But also written there are the spirits of the humble, those who afflicted their bodies and were recompensed by God. These are they who were put to shame by wicked men, yet loved God. They did not love gold or silver, nor the riches of this world. They surrendered their bodies to suffering. From the beginning of their days, they did not long for earthly food, but regarded all things as a passing breath, and lived as such. The Lord tested them greatly, and their spirits were found pure, worthy to bless His name. All the blessings appointed for them have been written in the books. Their recompense has been assigned to them because they loved heaven more than their life upon the earth. Though they were trampled by wicked men, abused, reviled, and put to shame, they did not curse, but blessed God. And after this the Lord said, "I will summon the spirits of the good who belong to the generation of light. I will transform those who were born in darkness, whose faithfulness in the flesh was not repaid with honor. I will bring forth those who loved my holy name into shining light, and I will seat each one upon the throne of his honor. They shall shine without end, for righteousness is the judgment of God. To the faithful He will give faithfulness and a dwelling in upright paths. They shall see those who were born in darkness led back into darkness, but the righteous shall be radiant. And the sinners shall cry aloud when they behold their splendor. They shall see them shine, and then they shall go away to the place appointed for them, where days and seasons are measured for judgment." And Enoch lifted his voice and swore an oath, and he said, "I swear unto you, righteous ones, that in heaven the angels remember you for good before the glory of the Great One. Your names are written before His glory and are not erased. Be hopeful. For though in former days you were put to shame through evil and affliction, now you shall shine as the lights of heaven. You shall shine, and you shall be seen, and the portals of heaven shall be opened to you. And when you cry out for judgment, judgment shall appear. For all your tribulation shall be visited upon the rulers of the earth, and upon all who aided those who plundered and oppressed you. Be hopeful still, and cast not away your hope, for great joy awaits you, joy like that of the angels of heaven. What then shall be required of you? You shall not need to hide on the day of the great judgment. You shall not be found among sinners, and the eternal judgment shall be far from you throughout all generations of the world. And now, fear not, you righteous, when you see sinners growing strong and prospering in their ways. Do not become their companions, but keep yourselves far from their violence. For you shall become companions of the hosts of heaven. Though sinners say in their hearts, all our sins shall not be searched out or written down, know this: every one of their sins is written down each day. Light and darkness, day and night, bear witness against them. They see every sin. Therefore, be not godless in your hearts. Do not lie. Do not alter the words of uprightness. Do not accuse the words of the Holy Great One of falsehood. Do not put your trust in idols. For all lying and godlessness do not lead to righteousness, but to great sin. I know this mystery also. Sinners will alter and pervert the words of righteousness in many ways. They will speak wicked words, lie, practice deceit, and write books according to their own corruption. But there is another mystery. When my words are written truthfully in the languages of men, without change or omission, when nothing is diminished from what I first testified, then books shall be given to the righteous and the wise. These books shall become a source of joy, uprightness, and great wisdom. They shall be given to the righteous, and they shall believe in them and rejoice over them. And all the righteous who learn from them, the paths of uprightness shall be recompensed. In those days the Lord commanded and said, Summon and testify to the children of the earth concerning their wisdom. Show it to them, for you are their guides and their recompense upon the whole earth. For I and my Son shall be united with them forever in the paths of uprightness during their lives. Peace shall be yours. Rejoice, children of uprightness. Amen.
When the Book of Enoch is mentioned, the first things that usually come to mind are fallen angels, giants, and cosmic judgments. And anyone familiar with the research and related work published by me here on YouTube knows exactly what those themes refers to. But here, my intention is different. What is being presented here is a symbolic and archetypal reading. Because what this book truly offers is something far deeper and far more uncomfortable. It functions like a mirror of the human mind, of civilizations, and of the cycles that repeat. Whenever knowledge, power, and desire, faster than consciousness, is able to sustain. Enoch within this narrative is not a hero in the classical sense. He does not come to save anyone. He doesn't organize a people, found a religion, or lead a revolution. He crosses a boundary that no other human crosses and returns, with something very specific, understanding, and that is symbolic. Enoch represents that rare point of consciousness capable of stepping away from chaos, rising above the noise, and seeing the entire system at work and at failure. In Jungian psychology, this closely resembles the idea of the observant self, not the ego which reacts, judges, defends, and attacks, but that deeper instance that simply sees records and understands. And perhaps that is why Enoch does not die. Because ideas like these do not belong to ordinary time. They survive, collapse. The Watchers, on the other hand, do not simply represent evil angels. They represent something much more closer to real reality. Intellect without limits, intelligence that breaks boundaries before responsibility has been developed. Their descent is not only physical, but actually symbolic. They cross the line between archetype and matter, between principle and application, and by doing so, they hand humanity tools that are far too powerful for an immature consciousness. When they reach mythology, weapons, astrology, cosmetics, and enchantments, the text is not condemning knowledge itself. It is revealing the danger of knowledge, disconnected from psychological integration. In Jung's terms, this is ego inflation, and this is the moment when the human mind identifies with forces larger than it can contain, when it believes it can control fire simply because it has learned how to produce it without yet understanding the cost of being burned. The giants are born precisely from this imbalance, and here the symbol is unmistakable. They are not mere physical creatures. They represent systems that are out of proportion, structures that grow too large, consume too much, and demand too much. They devour everything because they were created without measure. They are autonomous, complexes, as Jung would describe them, ideas, technologies, powers, or ideologies that escape control and begin to dominate their creators. Then, the text does something remarkable. It shows that the problem is not in the cosmos, which is order. The stars obey, the winds obey, decisions obey, the universe functions in perfect order. This order appears only when human consciousness violates its own limits. In other words, chaos is not natural, it is chosen. That is why judgment in Enoch is not vengeance, it is not divine rage, it is structural correction. The flood is not moral punishment, it is a reset. The imprisonment of the watchers is not sadism, it is containment. It is the moment when the system must interrupt. Excess in order to avoid total self-destruction. Psychologically, it is when the psyche imposes limits of an inflated ego to prevent complete collapse. And within this framework emerges the figure of the Son of Man. Not as a response to chaos, but an eternal principle. He existed before. He represents what the inflated ego cannot be. Authority without tyranny. Power without corruption. Integrated consciousness. In Jungian psychology, this figure aligns with the royalized self. Before it, kings tremble, not because they are attacked, but because they recognize that their authority was never truly their own. Perhaps one of the most tragic moments in the entire book is when wisdom seeks to dwell among humanity and finds no place. That alone speaks volumes. It is not that humanity lacks access to wisdom, it is that it cannot tolerate it. Wisdom demands integration, responsibility, and the renunciation of omnipotence. And so it returns to heaven, not because it is rejected by the divine, but because it cannot be sustained by the human. At its core, the Book of Enoch describes a cycle that repeats throughout history. First a leap in knowledge, then the breaking of limits, next the inflation of power, after that collapses, and finally a restart guided by order. This is not a book about the distant past, it is a permanent warning if we see it through symbolic interpretation. It was marginalized because it describes patterns that continue to unfold, because it exposes the fragility of human consciousness when advancement is confused with maturity, because it reminds that intelligence without integration does not illuminate, it devours. And perhaps, and that is why Enoch is still there, not as a prophet to the end of the world, but as a living archive of mistakes that insist on repeating themselves.